I've been on a carnivore diet for over 2 years now, and over this time my approach to eating has evolved quite a bit. Initially I was all about beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. These days I follow what I like to call a modified lion diet. My daily meals consist of plenty of fatty red meat, but on Fridays or Saturdays I treat myself to some wild fish, making it a surf and turf kind of meal. Occasionally I have eggs, and every couple of weeks I indulge in some Iberico pork. But today, I want to talk about the 5 foods I avoid on my carnivore diet and why I choose not to include them. Let's start with chicken. I used to enjoy it a lot before I adopted this lifestyle, but over the past 2 years, I can count on one hand the number of times I've eaten chicken. Probably no more than 5. Why? Well, for starters, chicken is way too lean to base a carnivore diet on. If you rely on chicken, you'd have to supplement it with a lot of butter, egg yolks, or bone marrow to meet your fat needs, which is critical on this diet. Without enough fat, you can run into problems pretty quickly. Another issue is that chicken is a monogastric animal, meaning its nutritional profile can be less ideal depending on what it's fed. Unfortunately, most chickens are raised in factory farms under disgraceful conditions. They're fed things like soy and corn, not what they'd naturally eat in the wild. This skews their omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, often reaching 15:1. Compare that to grass-fed beef, which has a ratio closer to 2:1. Lamb is even better, often hitting around 1.5:1, which aligns closely with the 1:1 ratio humans evolved on. This makes lamb and beef far superior sources of nutrition in my book. When I do eat chicken, it's always from a trusted source, like a pasture-for-life butcher, where I know the birds have lived naturally and eaten well. Next up is farmed salmon. I used to eat a fair amount of it before going carnivore and even in the early days of this diet. But as I learned more, I gradually stopped eating it altogether. Farmed salmon are raised on a diet of fish meal pellets, vegetables laced with pesticides and antibiotics. They're even fed synthetic carotenoids to give them that pink-orange color that wild salmon naturally get from eating krill and other crustaceans. Farmed salmon spend about 2.5 years crammed into open-net farms, often with 1 million fish in just 10 to 12 cages. This environment breeds parasites like sea lice, which not only harm the farmed fish, but can also affect wild salmon populations when the parasites spread. About 20% of farmed salmon die due to these poor conditions, a mortality rate even higher than that of factory-farmed chickens. For me, if it's not organic or wild-caught, I won't touch it. Another thing I avoid is dairy produced using a new feed additive called Bovaer. This additive contains an enzyme inhibitor called 3-nitrooxypropanol, which is supposed to reduce methane emissions from cows. While it's been deemed safe, I'm not comfortable with the idea of interfering with the cow's natural digestion. Brands like Arla and others owned by them use this additive, so I steer clear of their products, including items sold under Tesco, Aldi and Morrison's labels. Instead, I source dairy from trusted local farms that don't use this additive. I don't consume much dairy these days, but when I do, I make sure it's from a reliable, clean source. If I'm having butter or cheese, it's more of a condiment or occasional treat. In the early days of my carnivore journey, I ate quite a bit of bacon. Now I avoid conventional factory-farmed pork altogether. The conditions these pigs are raised in are appalling. They're kept in dark, cramped spaces and fed large amounts of grain, which affects the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in their meat. For factory-farmed pigs, this ratio can range from 10:1 to as high as 20:1, compared to around 5.5:1 for pasture-raised pork. Pork, like chicken and salmon, comes from a monogastric animal, so its nutritional profile is more susceptible to the animal's diet. The only pork I eat is Iberico pork. These pigs roam freely in their natural environment, foraging primarily on acorns. This makes their meat far more nutrient-dense and ancestrally consistent. I feel great after eating Iberico pork, unlike conventional pork, which often leaves me feeling off. Finally, I avoid oysters. This one's more of a personal choice because I've had food poisoning from oysters before, and now I can't bring myself to eat them again. That said, oysters are incredibly nutrient-dense, so if you tolerate them well, they can be a great addition to your diet. Oysters are often called the multivitamin of the sea due to their rich, nutritional profile. They are one of the best natural sources of zinc, which is essential for immune function, hormone production, and wound healing. Just one medium-sized oyster can contain up to 5.5 milligrams of zinc, nearly half of the daily recommended intake for an average adult. In addition to zinc, oysters are high in other essential minerals like selenium, copper, and iron. all of which play crucial roles in maintaining overall health. They're also a good source of B12 and omega-3 fatty acids, making them an excellent choice for brain health and energy levels. However, not all oysters are created equal. Like farmed salmon, farmed oysters may come from polluted waters or be exposed to harmful chemicals. Heavy metals like lead and cadmium can accumulate in oysters harvested from contaminated areas, posing potential risks to human health. This is why it's critical to know the source of your oysters. Opting for oysters harvested from clean, nutrient-rich waters can mitigate these risks and ensure you're getting the highest quality shellfish. Another concern with oysters is their potential to carry harmful pathogens. Vibrio bacteria, which naturally occur in warm coastal waters, can contaminate oysters and lead to severe foodborne illnesses. While cooking oysters can kill these bacteria, many people prefer them raw, which increases the risk. For me, this personal history with food poisoning has made oysters a no-go, but I recognize their incredible nutritional value for those who can handle them safely and source them responsibly. Ultimately, the quality of your food matters. Whether it's chicken, pork, or seafood, it's all about sourcing high-quality products from animals raised in their natural environments and fed their natural diets. I've found that supporting local butchers and farms, as well as pasture for life and regenerative farming practices, not only benefits my health but also promotes sustainability. If you're serious about your health, prioritize fatty red meat from grass-fed, grass-finished ruminants like beef and lamb. Add in some eggs, wild fish, and, if it works for you, high-quality dairy. And if you ever find yourself in a pinch while traveling or hiking, consider something like the Carnivore bar. A simple, clean product made from grass-fed beef, fat, and salt. It's my go-to option when I need a convenient carnivore-friendly snack. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time.